Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, if you're a plant parent, you absolutely know the exact heartbreak I'm talking about. You walk up to your beloved Calathea or maybe a fern, and bam, there it is. Those dreaded brown, crispy edges completely ruining what was an otherwise beautiful, perfect green leaf. It's so frustrating, right? Well, don't worry, because today we are going to completely change the way you look at those crispy tips. We're stepping right into the plant ER. I'm going to show you how to use a complete care guide approach to not just treat the immediate problem, but to actually diagnose exactly what your plant is trying to tell you. So, I really want you to ask yourself this. What is your dying houseplant trying to tell you? I mean, plants can't speak, right? So they have to rely on physical signals to tell us when their environment is totally out of whack. Those brown tips, they aren't just your plant being difficult or, giving up on you. They're actually a very specific cry for help. And once we learn to decode that language, we can fix the environment before the whole plant goes downhill. Now, the science behind this condition, which is officially known as leaf scorch or tip burn, almost always comes down to a water imbalance. Think of a plant's vascular system kind of like our own human circulatory system. It actively pushes water from the roots all the way up and out to the very edges of its leaves. The tip of the leaf, that's the absolute last stop on the train. So when the plant gets stressed, like either there just isn't enough water or the surrounding air is pulling it out way too fast, that furthest tip is the very first casualty. It just dries up, dies, and turns into that crispy brown edge we all hate. All right, so here is our game plan for today. First, decoding plant language. Second, diagnosing the 5 culprits. Third, targeted treatments. And fourth, building your complete care guide. Okay, let's dive right into section 1, decoding plant language and diagnostics. To properly triage the issue, we have to play detective and combine clues. It's like a giant puzzle. For example, if you see brown crispy tips plus yellowing lower leaves and the soil feels literally bone dry to the touch, well, you're looking at a classic case of underwatering. But let's say you have just brown tips, especially on a tropical plant, and your soil is consistently moist. That completely rules out underwatering and points us straight to low humidity. We also want to look for really specific visual markers. Like, is there a distinct yellow halo around the brown tip? That points to water quality. Or are the leaves scorched and faded? That points to sun damage. Combining these clues leads us right to the actual culprit every single time. Moving right along to section 2, diagnosing the 5 culprits and targeted treatments. All right, meet cause number 1, low humidity. Honestly, if you have tropical houseplants like Calatheas, ferns, or palms, this is the absolute most common suspect, for sure. These beautiful plants originate from incredibly humid, lush rainforests. So when we bring them into our homes, especially in the winter when the central heating is just blasting, the indoor air literally becomes a desert. That dry air acts exactly like a sponge, aggressively pulling moisture right out of those delicate leaves way faster than the root system can even pump it back up. So the absolutely crucial point here is hitting this magic number, 40 to 60%. That's the ideal ambient humidity range that most of our favorite tropicals actively prefer. The dry reality of our climate-controlled homes usually sits far, far below this target, and that is exactly why the tips dry out in the first place. To actually correct this, we need actionable, long-term fixes. Investing in a small electric humidifier is hands down the most effective thing you can do. Alternatively, you can group several plants close together. This is really cool. As they transpire, they actually create a humid little microclimate for each other. You can also place your plant pots on a shallow tray filled with pebbles and water. Just make sure the pot is sitting entirely on the dry pebbles, not actually soaking in the water itself. As that water evaporates, it literally bathes the leaves in nice, consistent humidity. Okay, moving on to cause number 2, underwatering. This happens when the whole plant is just thoroughly dehydrated. If your soil is bone dry to the touch, maybe it's even pulling away from the sides of the pot, and the pot itself feels incredibly light when you lift it, well, there simply isn't enough water available. In a pretty brilliant survival mechanism, the plant physically prioritizes keeping its core stem and roots alive. It intentionally sacrifices its extremities, like those older leaves and leaf tips, by just completely cutting off their water supply. Now, if you have a stubbornly dry root ball, the ultimate ER treatment is something called bottom watering. When soil gets overly dry, it can actually become hydrophobic, meaning water poured on top just runs right down the sides and out the bottom without soaking in at all. So instead, place your pot in a few inches of water and just let it sit there for about 30 to 60 minutes. It's going to drink that water up from the bottom like a giant sponge, which ensures a really deep rehydration. Once it's recovered, though, you really must commit to a much more consistent watering schedule. All right, cause number 3, and this one trips up so many dedicated plant parents: water quality issues. Sensitive plants, think spider plants or dracaenas, heavily react to the chemical makeup of standard tap water. You see, tap water is often loaded with minerals, salts, fluoride, and chlorine. Over time, the plant draws all these minerals up and they get pushed to the very edges of the leaves, where they accumulate to highly toxic levels that literally kills the tissue. The major diagnostic clue here? Look for a very distinct yellow halo or line, right exactly where the brown tip meets the healthy green leaf. So to fix this, we have to look at the source. You need to switch from tap water to distilled water, filtered water, or even collected rainwater for these sensitive varieties. Now, you might have heard that old trick of letting tap water sit out on the counter for 24 hours. Well, actually, while that does allow chlorine gases to evaporate off, unfortunately, it does absolutely nothing to remove the harmful minerals or the fluoride that are causing the tip burn in the first place. You really need pure water. Cause number 4 is too much direct sun. We often think, hey, more light is always better, right? But intense direct sunlight hitting leaves that prefer indirect light will literally cause physical sunburn. The sun heats the leaf tissue up way too fast, causing it to lose water rapidly, and the cells just die off. This leaves scorched, pale, or faded brown tips. If those brown spots are heavily concentrated on the side facing the window, simply move the plant a few feet back, or maybe drop a sheer curtain to filter that harsh light out. Finally, cause number 5, fertilizer burn. Honestly, this is the tragic irony of overloving your houseplants. If you give them way too much fertilizer or give it to them when they're already bone dry, it creates a massive buildup of mineral salts in the soil. These salts physically burn the delicate root hairs, and when roots are damaged, they instantly lose their ability to absorb water, which leads us right back to our main symptom: brown, crispy tips from dehydration. If you've recently fertilized and suddenly see tip burn, you need to initiate a flush technique right away. Take the plant straight to your sink or your shower. Run a slow, steady stream of lukewarm water entirely through the soil, letting it flow heavily out of the drainage holes for several minutes. This physically washes those excess fertilizer salts completely away. Afterward, let it drain completely and put a strict hold on any more fertilizer for at least 1 to 2 months. Going forward, always dilute your fertilizer to half strength. When it comes to fertilizer, less really is more. Section 3, the complete care guide and prevention. All right, we've handled the emergencies. Now let's talk about the pillars of a proactive, complete care guide. These are the daily habits that prevent leaf scorch from ever beginning. First, prioritize humidity by investing in a small humidifier for those tropicals. Second, check the top layer of your soil regularly so you're watering consistently. We never want to swing wildly from bone dry to waterlogged. Third, use quality filtered water to prevent that toxic mineral buildup. And finally, fertilize wisely. Only do it during the active growing season, always dilute it, and literally never fertilize a thirsty planet. And lastly, Section 4, Plant Parent FAQs and myth busting. Let's clear up some things. First up, we absolutely need to bust the misting myth. So many of us buy those cute little spray bottles thinking we're saving our tropicals, right? But misting provides an incredibly temporary boost in ambient moisture that evaporates in just a few minutes. It's essentially like giving your plant a fleeting 5-minute spa treatment when what it actually needs is a complete climate change. For a real, lasting environmental fix, you've got to ditch the misting bottle and switch over to humidifiers and pebble trays. Okay, here is the question everyone always asks. Should I cut off the brown, crispy tips? The answer is yes, absolutely you can. You aren't hurting the plant at all. Just take a sharp, clean pair of scissors and trim away that dead tissue. Now, it's best to follow the natural shape or curve of the leaf as you cut, purely for aesthetics, just so it still looks natural. And hey, if the leaf is entirely brown, just remove the whole thing. But we do need to manage our expectations a bit here. If you're wondering, will they turn green again? The hard truth is no. Once that leaf tissue has dried up and turned crispy, it is permanently dead. It can't be revived or magically healed. And that is exactly why our entire focus in this complete care guide has been on correcting the underlying root causes. We can't fix the old damage, but we can absolutely protect all of the beautiful new growth. Which leads me to leave you with this final thought. Now that you know how to decode the clues, now that you understand the crucial difference between dry soil and dry air, between water quality and sunburn, what is your plant asking for today? I highly encourage you to go take a close look at your houseplants right now. Feel the soil, check the leaf edges, and use your brand new diagnostic skills to give them exactly what they need. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy growing.